disappointing one for the Golden Knights. Another game that just not good enough to win. You look at the last, it's now been 3 wins out of the last 11. They're 3-8 in the last 11. A ton of regulation losses. And really the simple part, and today's another example of it, they're just second best by enough that they don't deserve to win the game. It hasn't been that way for all of the 8, but it certainly has for a lot of the recent losses. Certainly today, Winter Classic comes to mind. Anaheim game comes to mind with going down 4-0 in that one. Carolina comes to mind. Like, there's a lot of these games that, quite frankly, they're just not good enough. And that's why you go back to that New York Islander game and like, okay, they win the game and we feel like, all right, well, that's what it needs to look like. And that game actually was a little bit closer. I watched that game again and like, yes, the Golden Knights were better. Yes, the Golden Knights deserve to have a good chance to win that game, but the final score of 5-2 doesn't really reflect the style of play. I thought today was a lot closer to a 3-0 game than that one was a 5-2. And that's just factual in that the Golden Knights have not been very good. The Winter Classic, I actually thought was a little bit closer, but the Golden Knights were not good enough to win that game. And I want to just talk about today some of the things that I've noticed that are problems, some of the things that they clearly can do better, have done better in the past, and then we'll see like how much of that can be fixed. Now, we have to get the obvious out of the way. There's no arguing this. It is a clear fact that the Golden Knights are missing a lot of important players. Their goalies are not there. Even if their one goalie was there, the one you want in the lineup has not been there for an extended period of time. That does matter. Do they win the game today with Adin Hill? No, they do not. Do they win a lot of these games with Adin Hill? No, they do not. Potentially maybe some of the games on the road trip in Carolina, Florida, and Tampa Bay, but probably not a lot of these. So that one, while it exists, I think it's important to remember this is a team that proved that goaltending doesn't matter that much in order to get to winning the Stanley Cup. They proved that in how they're paying their goalies. They've proved that across the board. So to me, we cannot go overboard on saying that is why they're losing. Now, Theodore, Carlson, they matter. I'm not, like you can pick some other guys. There's Hutton, there's Carrier, there's Amadio, there's other guys out of the lineup, and certainly they do matter and they do add up to something. But Theodore and Carlson clearly make a difference. Theodore obviously matters on both ends of the ice in a big way. Carlson, especially against a team like this, he would have spent the majority of his time out there against McKinnon. That does not happen. Now you see what you end up with, which is they are really struggling to deal with that group. And then obviously they don't have the depth to deal with the Nichushkin group, and the penalty killing isn't as good. So all of that adds up. There's no doubt the injuries are part of it. That being said, I'm not putting this all on injuries. It's just not. It just hasn't been good enough beyond just the injuries. You can be good enough. We saw what it looks like. New York is not a bad team. They have a good goalie. They play a little bit different of a system, and that is where I'm going to start. The number one thing that I have noticed is the Golden Knights are struggling under heavy forecheck. That's one of the big keys in how they won the Stanley Cup last season, was because the heavier your forecheck was, the more they were able to break out and get going on transition. They did not have much of anything in transition outside of 20 seconds into the game. Great breakout, get the transition, shots blocked up into the stands. Okay, no big deal. We can get more of that as the game goes on. Didn't happen. Just really did not have much of anything in transition in regards to 2-on-1s, barely even any 3-on-2s either. That's because when teams are forechecking, when they're sending players in deep, they're not making plays to get out of it. Today, we saw a lot more stagnant feet. Certainly, as the game went on into the third period, there was a lot of stagnant feet. The goal that they allowed, you pull that clip, it's rough. There's a lot of guys standing still with and without the puck. You have the puck, move your damn feet and get out of the position you're in so that you can make the play. It is a huge problem that they have not been able to overcome heavy forechecks. Carolina, Seattle, Florida, both times. Tonight, a lot of these have gotten to the point where that has been the key problem. That must be fixed. Now, does that get fixed with just Theodore? I'm not sure. They have 5 of their 6 defensemen in there. McNabb, Whitecloud, Haig, Martinez, Pietrangelo. It's just Theodore that we're missing. Obviously, we get 2 extras, and Cormier has not been bad. He's actually been okay moving the puck. Little bit of jitters here and there. Bjornfoot's been all right moving the puck, but as a team, as a whole, it hasn't been good enough. So you ask the question, is that going to get better? I don't know. I really do not know. We had a bit of this problem in the middle of the regular season last year. There was a concern of this, so that is good news that we saw that. They overcame it. They got out of the All-Star break, and they got back to doing the right things. Once we get healthy, we'll see. That's like number one beyond anything. I think that alone will fix a lot of the problems. That will keep pucks from going in their own net. That will keep them out of the box a little bit more. That will generate more transition. That will do a lot of the things that I think will make them feel a lot better in how they're playing. The next one is probably the most obvious one. Something that clearly is a massive problem, and I don't know if it's going to be fixed. And I will tell you that after I tell you that all Periscopes are brought to you by the Jimmerson Law Firm. Jimmerson Law Firm is one of Las Vegas's preeminent law firms specializing in high-stakes business, civil, and family litigation. When winning matters, seek out the Jimmerson Law Firm. Man, does winning matter, and the Golden Knights are not doing a ton of that. Seek out the Jimmerson Law Firm. It's special teams. Special teams, disaster, absolute nightmare, both of them. Today's penalty kill was not very good, but it paled in comparison to how bad the power play was. First off, we know the second unit, it's a problem when they have some of these injuries. Carlson's not there, Theodore's not there, both of them are in. That would push 2 guys down. Okay, maybe we get a little bit better of a unit. And at times, that second unit was okay at different times in the season. But the first unit, not good, like just not good. And the problem is that it's the same issues we've been seeing over and over and over again. This team does not like to shoot unless it's wide open and they love the look that they're getting. That's not how you break down modern day penalty kills. You have to get the puck to the goal. That's actually why Cormier looked pretty good on the power play today, because he was willing to get the puck to the goal. They've started to generate a little bit of movement. You saw the most dangerous chance they had in all the power plays was very good, which was Eichel underneath, gets it to Stone right out in front. That's movement. That's something good. We are getting a little bit of that, but you're still getting multiple players holding the puck too long. We're starting to see Marchessault hold it too long. Eichel's now getting more comfortable on the other side, and he's holding it too long, which is what we were excited about when they switched sides, because Marchessault was shooting and Eichel was less comfortable holding it over there, putting the puck on net or getting rid of it back up to the point quickly, getting it down underneath the goal. None of that's happening anymore. Eddie Olczyk on the broadcast multiple times today said, we are not seeing them make plays. They're forcing it. They're not making the play that is there in front of them. Instead, they're forcing it. Cassidy has yapped about this over and over and over and over and over again, and we have not seen it happen. So that is a problem. As I tweeted out, the Golden Knights power play plus penalty kill percentage in the past 10 games was 81 and change. That is a nightmare. That is horrible. It is very hard to win games at that bad of a ratio. They will not win a playoff series if they operate with that amount of penalty kill and power play. It's not going to happen. I understand the power play was not particularly good in the playoffs last year, and at different times the penalty kill wasn't even all that good. But when you add it all up, they were pretty close, if not above 100. I haven't looked at it in a while, but they were pretty close. They sure as shit were not 81%, and that is not counting 2 for 4 for Colorado today, 0 for 4 for the Golden Knights today. Penalty kill goes down, power play goes down. It's getting even worse. It could potentially be under 80%. They might be in the 70s. That is a disaster. Has to be better. With all the talent the Golden Knights have, it has to be better. When you look at the deadline, maybe that's a place you look. I've been screaming for a penalty killer the entire time. I will continue to scream for a penalty killer all the way up to the second the buzzer hits 0 on the trade deadline on March 8th or 9th or whatever the date is. We'll lock that in. I'll start paying attention to what that is now that we're in the right year to get to that. But I think they need a penalty killer. That's going to free up some time for either Eichel, Stone, Stevenson, Carlson, whoever it happens to be. I think that's going to help a lot of it. Right now, penalty kill's certainly not good enough to be using Eichel and Stone on it. When it was 85%, okay, fine, we can use them on it. Right now, it's not even close. So there's no question. Yeah, I'm seeing the Riley Smith stuff. I don't think that that's going to be in the cards, just because I don't think if they believed that they needed him, they would have gotten rid of him. I think it shows the issues that they thought Riley would have solved, or that they had considered, or whatever, they don't. And yet bringing him back, I think, just would be a temporary fix. I don't think they're going to actually do that. So down the road, the one that's jumping out to me is Sean Monahan. He's in Montreal right now. Great penalty killer. Can play on the power play. I think he's a good option. He's going to be expensive. So we'll see what they can do with that one. That's the name that really, to me, makes the most sense, but that's a huge part of it. Depth is becoming a bit of a problem. That's not terribly surprising. I thought Cotter was good today, but if Cotter's really driving a line, you're in a bit of problem. Howden hasn't really been all that impactful. Certainly is not as impactful as he was in the playoffs last year. Amadio's impact has gone down a little bit. Barbashev is not generating the offense the same way when he's not on the line with both Eichel and Stone. When it's just one or the other, they're not generating as much. So that spare piece dragging them along. And then also, I think Stevenson's not having quite the same year that he was. Carlson out of the lineup. You're not getting as much offense from the fourth line that they were getting at different times in the postseason. Wah hasn't been generating that much. He has gotten a couple games, no doubt, but haven't seen as much. Should we call up Brendan Brisson? I'll say the same thing that I've said about Brendan Brisson for a while. And that is, until he starts dominating the AHL, I don't think he's going to be ready to get in the NHL. Look at Denisenko, leading point scorer on the Silver Knights, has not been all that impactful, still does not have a goal in the NHL, hasn't played a lot of games, but still not making the same impact. Hang on, let me get Rupert. It's asking me to pick him up. Hello, Rupee. Yeah, thank you. So I think with him, he's not going to make a huge difference. You know, you're seeing like what Dorofeev has been able to do, what Denisenko has been able to do. I just don't know that that's going to make a big difference. I thought Denisenko was good in the third period, by the way. A couple people were asking about Bjornfoot. Let me see if I can get it. There we go. What did you think of Bjornfoot today? I don't think he played enough for it to really matter. I think the skating is there. I think he's able to get back on pucks quickly. I don't know how comfortable he is in the system yet, so that's obviously something we have to consider. I think he's going to be fine. I think over the course of time, it's a good pickup. I feel good about it. At what point do we panic is the question. Certainly not yet. They're still clearly in playoff position. There's not really all that much coming up behind them. Like, yeah, the points percentage, you start looking and it's a little bit closer, but it's still a ways to go. They'd still have to lose quite a few more games for that to be a problem. I don't think there's much reason to panic there. I think where you would start to have any level of panic would be if we know going into the playoffs they're not going to be healthy. I think they've proven over the course of multiple years now, this being the third year in a row, you can argue fourth year, but certainly the third year in a row, where they've been pretty darn banged up in the middle of the season. If they are not healthy going into the postseason, yeah, then there would be time to panic. And again, like, how big is the panic? I don't know. Have any of you reporters asked if they've lost their will to win? I will not ask that because I don't believe it. So if I don't believe it, I don't know why I would need to ask it. If I say, have they lost their will to win? And they say no, I would say, okay, that I would agree with you. When you ask that question, it comes up with a belief that I have thought that is the problem. I don't. I don't at all. I think that they were there in that game trying to win it. I thought the first period was a good example of that. They were all over the place, blocking shots, giving their bodies up, getting to pucks, back checking, doing a lot of the things that you need when you have that effort. I thought the intensity was there tonight. They just weren't good enough. They just flat out were not good enough. And really, to me, Colorado missed a lot of empty nets. Like, Colorado was off net on a lot of shots. So that's a concern. Is Cassidy the problem? No. That's a two-letter answer. No. The guy's a Stanley Cup winning coach. His system has proven to work. He does this and his teams do this every single year. I might have to re-update that article. This is what Cassidy teams do. Hot start, struggle through the middle, 500 or so through the middle, pick it up at the end. If they don't pick it up at the end, then we can start talking. But for now, we don't have to worry about it. How will we look when Hill's in goal? So let's start with Hill. What is going on there? I don't know. That is concerning. So it's got to be an injury. I don't think it's illness. I've had a couple people tell me like, oh, is it just an illness? No, they've announced that Amadio had an illness. They announced that Thompson had an illness. There's been other announcements of illness. I think Kolesar had one recently. For them to not say illness on this particular one and have to pull up somebody else, I think if it's an illness, maybe he can be the backup. Just hide him in the corner and he can be the backup. I don't think it's illness. So therefore, it must be injury again. That is a disaster. What is going on there? I have no answers to that. If this is indeed an injury, you better believe Cassidy's going to get a bunch of questions about what's going on. We had that with DeBoer. He got a ton of questions about what's going on with goalie injuries. We are going to have a ton of questions to Cassidy if this is indeed another injury. Why does this keep happening? What are you doing to change this, to change your system or your process or whatever we want to call it to make sure this does not happen? It's concerning, and I don't really know what to make of it. What do they look like when Hill gets back? The way they're currently playing, not much different. There has not been a lot of games that they've lost because of the goalie. I'm not going to go over all of them because that will just make people mad, but there hasn't been a ton of them. There have been a few. Not saying there hasn't been a few. I think they're probably maybe 2 points better in the last 11, 12 games. I don't think it's much better. I really don't. Today, certainly, they lose with any goalie today. Like, not winning that game. They didn't score a goal. They've been shut out 5 times this season. I tweeted that one out as well. 5 times. It is now the second highest shutout rate on a season in franchise history. Only second to the season that they missed the playoffs and got shut out 7 times, a number of times down the stretch, and found their way out of the playoffs. I am not concerned about that, but I do think getting shut out 2 times in 4 games, 3 times in 5 games back, however long that was ago, it's not good. It's not good. And that brings me to the next problem that I'm noticing. The amount of time they're spending with the puck underneath the goal lines has been limited compared to what it was to begin this season, and certainly all the way through the cup run and winning the cup last season. When the Golden Knights are at their best, they hold the puck in the offensive zone and hold guys off. That disorganizes how the defense plays. They do not rely on low to high. They do not rely on pucks to the net from the point. When they go to pucks to net from the point with the current system and current head coach, it means they're not doing the things that they want to do. Plan 1, plan A, is not working. So to me, that is a huge issue that has to be corrected. It's players like Stevenson, Eichel, Waz very good at it. We've seen Barbashev do it at times. Marchessault can be good at it. Stone's pretty darn good at it. Carrier's very good at times. Kolesar was. These players holding the puck deep in the zone. Hold it deep in the zone, hold the guy off, get it back up to the point, get it back, and now try to work from there. Goals from underneath the goal line are not happening right now. And I do not understand why that is the case. The amount of talent that's still in the lineup, they still should be able to do more of it. And they're frankly not. That is a problem that I look and I say, I don't know that Carlson and Theodore fix that. I really don't. That's a forward group issue, and the forward group hasn't been all that banged up. Amadio, actually, I think we did miss a little bit of it today. Certainly Carrier. Kolesar doesn't do all, Carlson doesn't do all that much of it. I'm seeing Perron's name. I'm seeing Corey Perry's name. Yeah. I don't think they're going to do Corey Perry. I don't know that Perron, I don't know what's going on with Perron. I don't think they're going to do Perron either, even though he is a guy that does exactly what they want to do. And yeah, somebody mentioning Walsh, I get that. They're probably not going to want to go down the Walsh road again. So yeah, maybe Perron's out just based solely on that. Again, you look at the problems, and I see people saying, at what point do we get concerned? There's Daniel saying that. At what point do we need to worry? Like, certainly not in the middle of the season. Certainly not when they're still in playoff position. Certainly not if they're still winning games at home. 6 losses in a row on the road. That's what it says right down there. That indicates that there hasn't been that many losses at home. There have been some wins at home. You're losing games as an underdog. That's, again, to be expected in some regard. I posted on the site today. Expectations on this back-to-back cannot be very high. They were probably not going to win this one. They very well may not win the next one. So with it being banged up, with the goalie situation, with all of it, and I wrote that with it when I thought Hill was going to be in the goal. So all of it, I'm not there yet. If they get out of the All-Star break and we get down to the final, to the deadline, and we get down to that point, it hasn't turned around then you can start being concerned, asking, are they going to actually turn it around? If we get to the final 10, 15 games of the season and the turnaround hasn't happened, then we can start to be concerned. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. I think it's going to be awfully difficult to not make the playoffs. You look at the group of teams that need to get in. I don't see the Golden Knights falling behind all of them. I just don't. Maybe they fall behind Vancouver and LA, and maybe Edmonton storms all the way back up. Maybe. I don't think they're falling behind much further than that. I cannot see them going all the way down to 5th, which would mean Seattle passes them. Don't see it happening. Then beyond that, there aren't that many teams that are even all that dangerous beyond that. Nashville, St. Louis, not that concerned. So getting into the playoffs does not concern me all that much. If that changes, you'll see a lot more panic from me, because winning the Stanley Cup following by missing the playoffs is a complete and utter disaster. That cannot happen, especially when you keep your entire roster. And that part of it, tweeted that out earlier before the game, 13 players were on the roster today, or at least in the active roster, that were on the active team when they won the Stanley Cup 9-3 against the Florida Panthers. 13, so 7 were missing. That's not that abnormal this far into the season for a team that's defending their cup. However, usually that means you've moved on from a lot of players and you've filled in replacements. The Golden Knights did not do that. They moved on from 1. You can argue 2. Jonathan Quick was the backup. Brossoit was the other backup. Yeah, okay. But Thompson and Hill are still the backups. Neither of them were in there either. So to me, you are seeing a little bit of that. They're not anywhere close to their full roster. But I think if the full roster showed up tomorrow, the way that they're playing, they're not just going to turn it right back on. There's a lot of things that have to start going in a better direction. I've mentioned a number of them to this point. So I'm certainly not there. Will I be worried if they go in not playing better and banged up? Yes, absolutely. I don't want to see a first round exit. Like that I guess like the absolute minimum is you got to win a round. You don't want to be the team that wins the cup and then goes out in the first round. It's not good. It happened to Colorado last year, right? Seattle, yeah. So we don't want to do that. We'll see. And this is a fair point. This is a fair point. The Avs were also not at full strength. No Lehkonen, Wood, Mason, Byram. Yeah, I don't think it quite evens out. The Golden Knights were playing Yuri Patera. He's an AHL goalie. Now, he was good, and I will answer the question somebody had. I can't find it. Who should play the next game? I don't know, whatever. I'll get to that next. But yeah, I think the issues were bigger for the Golden Knights. Carlson, Theodore, Patera being in, Hill and Thompson both out. So I think it was a little bit bigger for the Golden Knights. But yeah, this wasn't the absolute best that Colorado can be. And you didn't even name the captain, Landeskog. I don't know if he comes back, but he's also not in the line. So we'll see. As far as the goalie, what do you do if Thompson and Hill are not healthy? I'm going back to Patera. I don't think Seville's ready yet. I think you might get a decent game out of Seville. I don't know. I don't think that he's going to help you more than what Patera did. I thought Patera was pretty good today. So I would just go back to Patera. They've shown that before. They've done it before. We went over this and they ended up winning the game with Thompson. I think that's going to be the plan. I would hope one or the other is back and ready. I will stand by. I don't think Patera's ready. I just don't think he's at that point yet. The glove is a bit of an issue to me. He didn't catch his first puck until late in the second period. I think as teams learn that, you will see more issues. Was he bad? Absolutely not. Was he the reason they lost? Absolutely not. Can he potentially be an NHL goalie down the road? Absolutely. Yes, he can. I just don't think we're at that point yet. I don't think that he's going to come in, take over the job, and be the guy. I have also not been screaming for him to play if everyone else is healthy. If Thompson was healthy, I want him in there. If Hill's healthy, I want him in there before the other two. I'm just not there. And maybe more games like today might change my mind, but we'll see. That's what I would do. tomorrow. The other one that I've seen people talk about is Cormier. I thought Cormier was pretty good offensively today. I thought Cormier was good getting back to the puck. I thought off the puck defensively, it was a little shaky, not terribly surprising. Second NHL game, tough situation, altitude, a lot going on, not terribly surprised about that. I still don't think he's one of their 7 or 8 best defensemen if all is healthy. So I don't think we're going to see him playing important minutes down the road. And if we do, then something else has gone wrong injury-wise. Again, like Patera, I'm starting to believe he could potentially be a full-time player for the Golden Knights. Right now, not quite there yet. I still think there's a little bit more we need defensively, and I think we will get to see that more as we go down the road. I'm writing an article tomorrow. I looked up all of the defending champions, would-be champions, and would-be runners-up to get where are they at the 41 game mark. The Golden Knights are not that far off. You'll see all the numbers tomorrow. They're certainly ahead of where they have been at different times in the past. They're certainly ahead of where defending champions have been, where eventual champions have been. You'll see all the numbers. There's really not like a benchmark that you have to hit. I was kind of thinking that there might be with where the Golden Knights have been in the historically, where defending champs have been, where eventual champs have been, all of them. You're not going to see a ton of that. You'll see those numbers. I'm going to publish that tomorrow. There will be no Periscope tomorrow. I think I'm going to try to do a Twitter space on Saturday after that game. And then Monday, I'll be there for the most of the beginning of the game, but then there's a football playoff game that I'm going to be pretty locked into. So hopefully that game's over by 5:15, or at least over in regards to the result, because I'm not going to be paying all that much attention, and there will certainly not be anything after that game until hopefully my Buccaneers are defeating the Eagles and heading on to the second round of the playoffs, which would be wild considering that they're not good. But we'll keep our focus on hockey. So there will be nothing after tomorrow's game. There will probably almost certainly be something after Saturday's game. I would expect that to be a Twitter space. If it's crazy, maybe I'll set the camera up and we'll do something in the arena and do one of these, but we will see. Thanks again to the Jimmerson Law Firm for sponsoring all Periscopes and Twitter spaces this season. They are my favorite. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I got. Because if I say when winning matters, you're going to get mad that the Golden Knights aren't winning. And I'm going to get mad that the Golden Knights aren't winning. And I don't want to do that. So thank you to the Jimmerson Law Firm. They are the best. That's it. Good night, everybody. We'll see you on Saturday. I'll be out. I'm covering the game. I'll be there tomorrow, but nothing after the game. Saturday, we'll do something after the game. Maybe I'll have you guys talk. That's it.